Now on Sheffield Live 93.2 FM, and this is Communities Live with
Susie Casson
and with me, Andrew Tildersley. And joining us in the studio is Bob Mynors.
Good morning.
From Stannington Library. How are you, Bob?
I'm very well today, thank you.
Fantastic. And you're here to talk about Stannington All Clear.
Stannington All Clear, a social event we're running on Saturday night in Stannington Church Hall.
And so what is it? It sounds glitzy.
It is billed as a nostalgic event of songs and readings from Britain's times of war. There'll be songs from World War I, songs from World War II, and readings as well. Some of it very light-hearted, some of it obviously looking at the more serious side of wartime. We're working with theatre group Hallam 89. Mm-hmm. They're doing the presentation for us, and in the middle, at half-time, there will be a fish and chip supper. Tickets still available.
Fantastic. And how much are the tickets?
Tickets are £8, or if you're already a friend of Stannington Library, £7.
And shouldn't we all be friends of Stannington Library?
We should all be friends of Stannington Library and all the other libraries in Sheffield as well.
And so where's the money going?
The money goes to the upkeep of the library. Stannington is one of Sheffield's volunteer-led libraries now, which means that not only do we have to provide the people to run the library, but we have to provide the money for the upkeep. We're still receiving some grants from the local authority, but that's not yet guaranteed beyond March next year, and it only goes some way towards filling the costs. There's a lot more that we now have to provide.
And so you've sort of formed a charity to sort of manage that?
Stannington Library is managed by an organisation called STAND, which is Stannington District Library Group, which is a charity.
Yeah, and how did that come together? How did people come together to sort of protect the library?
2 years ago, or a little over 2 years ago, an announcement was made by the council that some libraries would close if teams of volunteers weren't able to form themselves to organise the management. So in Stannington, a public meeting was called at which people were asked the question, do you want to get involved with this? I wasn't at that original meeting, I only got involved later on, but basically the group was formed initially out of that meeting. A call was put out for people to volunteer, and at that point I got in touch, put my name on the list, fully expecting that I might turn up for 2-3 hours a week maybe and stamp a few books as they go out and stamp them back in again. But what turned out was that I became a trustee of the charity and one of the managers of the library, and I now do all kinds of things, including very often being the public face and the public voice of the library, telling people about the work that we do.
Mm-hmm. And how valuable is that work to the community? Libraries,
I think, are an essential and increasingly essential part of the life of any community. There are the obvious bits that people would think of, the book loans, the computer use, the DVDs and so on, but there's so much more that a library building can offer. We have any number of events actually in the library or associated with the library. We have events for young parents or carers of young children in the preschool age ranges. We have a friendship club which meets monthly, and that's an opportunity for people who are maybe a little isolated to get out and meet a few people in a non-threatening, totally neutral environment. The other thing a library can do is just open its doors and be a warm place where you can go and sit. You don't actually need to do anything, you don't need to spend any money. Yeah. And simply take it from there. And that is something I have done in past years. I'm fortunate perhaps that I'm a bit better off these days, don't need to do that now, but it is important for people that there still are these open spaces that are open, people to come in and just spend a little time, just sit and read the paper, whatever you want to do.
Genuine public space that we all own.
In the warm.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sitting around in the Peace Gardens in December, not so much fun necessarily. So have you noticed a big difference to Stannington Library since it's become volunteer-run?
There are differences. I mean, I've got to be honest and say I wasn't a user of Stannington Library before this. It was only the threat of closure that suddenly made me think, well, I used to use libraries all the time. I used to take my kids there when they were little and so on. There are differences that I know we've made because of financial constraints and so on, which are difficult to argue with. It's not been possible for Sheffield City Council to bring in very many new books in recent years. As a volunteer-led library, self-managing, we've been able to put out an appeal to the people of Stannington, and the book donations that we've received have been absolutely wonderful. So we now have I think it's about 1,700 extra books
Wow.
in the library that weren't there before, that are titles that have never been represented in the library before, and the borrowing of those is really taking off. Most of those have been donated by the people of Stannington one way or another. Some people have simply brought us books that they had anyway that they no longer needed. Some I know have gone out and specifically bought a new title that they would have wanted to see in the library, read it themselves first, because people aren't daft, and then pass it on. Others we've been able to buy with grants that we've received from Bradfield Parish Council, for example, Stannington Church. There are no doubt other organisations whose name I'm forgetting at the moment, but I'll include them as well. Thank you all very much indeed for your generosity, for digging into your pockets and helping us carry on the work.
Yeah, fantastic. The real kind of community pulling together.
Mm-hmm.
So has volunteering at the library also made a big difference to you personally?
Yes, it has. It means I have no spare time. The downside of it is, and this is a matter of some regret to me, I have very little time left for reading. I've always been an avid reader, and I've probably read less in the past 3 years since I got involved with Stannington Library than I did in any similar period before. But that's a sacrifice at the moment I'm still happy to make. Yeah. It's got me some new friends. It's got me doing work such as this. You know, and how else was I going to get to appear on the radio before I got with Stannington Library? But here I am. So
back to the reason you're in. It's about Stannington All Clear. So
yes.
So what's the format of the event, sort of in a bit more detail?
Right, we should be starting at 7 o'clock in Stannington Church Hall on Saturday. That's Saturday the 26th.
Something, yeah.
Yeah, 26th, this Saturday, starting at 7 o'clock. Tickets, as I say, are still available, £8 and £7 from Stannington Library. If you do want to come along, try get in the library either today or Friday so that we can order your fish and chips for you and make sure that you're not sitting there going hungry whilst everybody else is tucking in. Mm-hmm. The show starts at 7. It is split into 2 halves, roughly 45 minutes each, with the meal break in the middle, and then everybody gets to go home round about probably 9:30, we think, unless there's a mass call for encores and so on. You never know, it may be that good.
Fantastic. And did you mention the ticket prices?
I did mention the ticket price, which was £8 or £7 if you're a friend of Stannington Library.
And how can people pay?
We will accept cheques in the library, or we will accept cash payments in the library. That's what we can do.
But ideally, they should go into the library.
But please, go into the library today or Friday. It might be difficult if you wanted to try on Saturday. If Saturday's the only time you can make it, by all means, give us a ring or come and see us, and we will see what we can sort out for you.
So if people want to give you a ring or contact you, maybe by email, is that possible? Email
Stannington Library, all one word, @gmail.com. Mm-hmm. Telephone Sheffield 234 8732.
Fantastic. And presumably, if people are interested in getting involved in Stannington Library, that's the same contact details?
Whether that's as volunteers or as supporters in any other way, as friends, there are details on our website, which is www.stanningtonlibrary.com.
Fantastic. Well, good luck with Saturday.
Thank you very
Sounds
much.
a lot of fun. Thanks for coming in, Bob.